The morning sun warmed Maya Johnson's face as she sat on her front porch, sipping her coffee. Her new home in Oakwood Heights looked perfect in the early light. After 15 years with the CIA, Maya was ready for some peace and quiet. "This is exactly what I needed," she said to herself, looking at the neat rows of houses with their perfect lawns. She had picked this neighborhood after careful research. What the listing didn't mention was the strange way some neighbors looked at her when she first moved in 3 weeks ago. Maya was only the third black family to buy a home in Oakwood Heights. Maya placed her coffee mug on the small table next to her chair. She had added her own touches to the porch. 2 garden gnomes her niece had given her and wind chimes that made soft music in the breeze. The sounds helped her relax after years of being on high alert in dangerous places around the world. She was about to go inside when a black SUV with tinted windows pulled up in front of her house. 2 large men stepped out. They wore uniforms that looked almost like police officers, but something was off about them. Maya's trained eye caught the differences right away. "Good morning, ma'am," the taller man said as they walked up her path. "We're from HOA enforcement." Maya had never heard of HOA enforcement before. She knew what an HOA was, a homeowners association that made rules for the neighborhood. But she hadn't received any welcome packet or rule book since moving in. "Can I help you?" Maya asked, keeping her voice friendly while her mind worked quickly. "We've received complaints about items on your porch," the shorter man said, pointing to her gnomes and wind chimes. "These aren't allowed in Oakwood Heights." Maya smiled politely. "I wasn't aware of any rules against these items. I haven't received any HOA information yet." The men looked at each other. The taller one stepped closer. "It's a $500 fine, payable immediately, cash or check." Maya's instincts kicked in. Something wasn't right. The badge on the taller man's chest looked fake. The uniforms weren't quite right either. The stitching was poor, and the patches were crooked. "I'd be happy to review the rules," Maya said calmly. "Could you show me where it says garden gnomes aren't allowed?" The shorter man frowned. "The rules are clear. Either pay the fine now or face more penalties." Maya reached for her phone. "Let me call the official HOA office to clear this up." "That won't be necessary," the taller man said quickly, putting his hand on his belt. "We are the official representatives." Maya noticed his hand wasn't resting on a gun. These men weren't armed, but they were trying to look like they had authority. Years of CIA training had taught her to spot fakes. These men were definitely not real HOA officials. They were running some kind of scam. "Please put down your phone," the shorter man ordered. "Either pay the fine, or we'll have to take further action." Without being obvious, Maya pressed a button on her phone. It looked like she was just holding it, but she had actually sent a pre-written text message to 3 specific contacts. The message was simple: Oakwood Heights, Code Falcon. The men didn't know that Code Falcon meant Maya needed backup. They also didn't know that 3 former CIA colleagues lived less than 5 minutes away. Maya had planned for moments like this long before these fake HOA cops showed up on her porch. "I think there's been a misunderstanding," Maya said with a smile. "Why don't we all calm down and talk about this properly?" The taller man spoke into a radio on his shoulder. "We have a non-compliant resident requesting additional support." Maya sat back in her chair, looking relaxed. The trap was set, and these men had walked right into it. Within minutes, another black SUV pulled up to Maya's house. 2 more men in the same fake uniforms stepped out and walked up her path. Maya noticed how some of her neighbors peeked through their curtains. A few even came out onto their porches, watching with worried faces. "Is there a problem here?" asked an older woman from the house next door. "HOA business. Please go back inside, Mom," the taller man said in a stern voice. Maya gave her neighbor a small smile. "It's okay, Mrs. Rivera. Just a misunderstanding about my garden gnomes." Mrs. Rivera didn't move. "That's strange. I have garden gnomes too, and nobody has ever said anything to me about them." The 4 men looked uncomfortable, The one who seemed to be the leader spoke up. Your gnomes were approved. Hers weren't. Maya stood up slowly. I'd really like to see the rulebook that says this, and I'd like to know why I haven't received any HOA information since I moved in. Because you people never read the rules anyway, muttered one of the men, just loud enough for Maya to hear. Maya raised an eyebrow. You people? More neighbors were coming outside now. Maya recognized this as a pattern. These fake HOA enforcers were targeting her because she was new to the neighborhood and because she was black. They'd probably thought she would be easy to intimidate and wouldn't cause trouble. They had picked the wrong person. The fine is now $750 for arguing, said the leader. Pay now or we'll have to remove you from the property while we correct the violations. Maya crossed her arms. Remove me? From my own property? On what authority? HOA bylaws give us the right to remove non-compliant residents, he said, pulling out a fake-looking document. It's all legal. Maya knew that no real HOA had the power to physically remove people from their homes. This confirmed what she had suspected. These men were running a scam that had worked many times before. I think I'll stay right here, Maya said calmly. The leader nodded to the others. Two men moved toward Maya and grabbed her arms. You're coming with us until this matter is resolved. As they started to pull her from the porch, Maya didn't fight back. She could have easily taken all four men down with her CIA combat training. But that wasn't the plan. The plan required evidence, and her neighbors were providing it by recording everything on their phones. Mrs. Rivera shouted, "Let her go. This isn't right." Another neighbor yelled, "I'm calling the real police." The men ignored the shouts and continued dragging Maya down her porch steps. She made sure to look scared and confused for the cameras, though inside she was counting down the seconds. 3, 2, 1. Right on time, 3 cars turned onto her street at high speed. They parked at angles that blocked the fake HOA vehicles. 6 people jumped out, 3 men and 3 women, all moving with the coordinated precision that came from years of field operations. "Federal agents, freeze," shouted a tall black man with graying hair. This was Thomas Wilson, Maya's former supervisor, and now the regional FBI director. The fake HOA enforcers froze in shock. The two holding Maya immediately let go of her arms. "What's going on?" the leader asked, his voice suddenly higher than before. "That's what we'd like to know," said a woman with short blonde hair as she held up her FBI badge. This was Sarah Chen, one of Maya's closest friends from her CIA days. The fake enforcers looked at each other in panic. They had never encountered resistance like this before. Usually their targets paid the fake fines out of fear or confusion. No one had ever called their bluff with federal agents. Maya rubbed her arms where they had grabbed her and smiled. "I think you gentlemen have some explaining to do." The fake HOA leader tried to regain control of the situation. "This is just a neighborhood matter. You have no jurisdiction here." Director Wilson stepped closer, his FBI badge still visible in his hand. "Impersonating law enforcement, extortion, assault, and civil rights violations are federal matters. I believe we have plenty of jurisdiction." The neighbors had formed a small crowd now. Many held phones, recording everything. Some whispered to each other, sharing stories of their own run-ins with these HOA enforcers. "I paid them $300 last month for having the wrong color mailbox," one man said. "They made me pay $600 because my grass was too long while I was on vacation," another added. Maya listened carefully. Just as she had suspected, these scammers had been targeting the neighborhood for some time. Her friends from the CIA, now FBI agents, moved quickly to secure the scene. They separated the 4 fake enforcers and began asking them questions. Sarah Chen approached Maya. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine," Maya said. "They didn't hurt me. They just didn't expect me to fight back in my own way." The fake HOA leader was now sitting on the curb, his hands behind his back in handcuffs. He glared at Maya. "You set us up." Maya walked over to him, standing tall. No, you set yourselves up. You thought you could bully and frighten people in their own homes. You thought you could target me because I'm new here and because I'm black. You didn't do your homework. Another agent approached with the fake HOA leader's wallet, James Peterson. And guess what? He has 15 different fake ID cards in here. HOA enforcement, city inspector, security patrol, all fake. Director Wilson turned to the neighbors who were watching. How long has this been going on? An older man stepped forward. About 3 years now. They show up at new homeowners' doors before the real HOA can welcome them. They make up rules and collect fake fines. If anyone questions them, they threaten to put lions on their homes. Why didn't anyone report this? Asked another agent. Mrs. Rivera spoke up. Some did, but local police said it was a civil matter between homeowners and the HOA. And these men, they knew which houses had security cameras. They avoided those homes. Maya wasn't surprised. This group had clearly done their research on which homes to target and which to avoid. They had been smart, but not smart enough. We found something in their SUV, called one of the agents. He held up a folder. It's a list of new homeowners in 5 different neighborhoods. They have notes beside each name. Director Wilson took the folder and read through it. His face grew dark with anger. They've marked each home by the race of the owners. They targeted minorities most heavily. The neighbors gasped. Maya had suspected this was happening, but having proof made it real for everyone. That's why we moved here, Maya said, addressing everyone. My friends and I. We heard about what was happening in Oakwood Heights and other neighborhoods. We came here to stop it. You're not really new homeowners? Asked Mrs. Rivera, looking confused. Maya smiled. The homes are real. We really bought them. But we chose this neighborhood for a reason. I'm retired CIA. My friends here are FBI. We've been tracking these kinds of scams across the country. The fake enforcers looked shocked. The leader's face had turned pale. He hadn't just targeted an ordinary homeowner. He had targeted a team of federal agents who had been waiting for him. You've been running this scam for 3 years, Maya said to him. But today is your last day. And everyone here is a witness. The neighbors began to applaud. Some even cheered. For years, they had lived in fear of these fake HOA enforcers. Now they were watching them being taken away in handcuffs. As the FBI agents put the fake HOA enforcers into their cars, more residents came out of their homes. Word spread quickly through the neighborhood. People wanted to know what was happening and if the nightmare was finally over. Director Wilson stood in Maya's front yard and addressed the growing crowd. We need statements from everyone who had dealings with these individuals. If you paid them money, we need to know when and how much. A young woman raised her hand. They made me pay $800 last month. They said my holiday decorations stayed up too long. I just moved here and didn't know any better. An elderly man spoke next. They charged me $1,200 for painting my door blue. Said it wasn't an approved color. More stories poured out. The fake HOA group had collected thousands of dollars from Oakwood Heights residents. They were careful to ask for amounts that were large enough to hurt, but not so large that people would risk fighting back. Maya watched as her neighbors shared their stories. Some had been too afraid to speak up before. Others had been too embarrassed to admit they had been fooled. Now, they found strength in numbers. Sarah Chen approached Maya with a laptop she had found in one of the SUVs. You need to see this, she said quietly. On the screen was a spreadsheet. It showed neighborhoods across 3 counties. Each entry had names, addresses, and payment amounts. Some entries had notes like Easy Target or We'll pay without questions. How much did they take in total? Maya asked. Based on this spreadsheet, over $2 million in the past 3 years, Sarah said. And look at this tab. She clicked to another page that showed bank accounts, fake company names, and a list of local officials who had been paid to look the other way. This is bigger than we thought, Maya said. They had help from inside the system. Meanwhile, Director Wilson was organizing the neighbors. "We'll set up a command post at the community center. Anyone who was a victim should come by today or tomorrow. Bring any receipts or records you have of payments to these individuals." Mrs. Rivera approached Maya. "You knew this was happening all along. That's why you moved here." Maya nodded. "We received tips about what was happening in several neighborhoods. But we needed evidence. We needed to catch them in the act." "So you used yourself as bait?" Mrs. Rivera looked impressed. "It was the fastest way to bring them out into the open," Maya explained. "They target new homeowners before they can learn the real rules. They especially target people who might feel uncomfortable questioning authority." "Because you're black," Mrs. Rivera said softly. "Yes," Maya said. "They didn't expect me to have backup. They didn't expect me to fight back." As they talked, a car pulled into the neighborhood. It had Oakwood Heights HOA printed on the door. A confused-looking man in a suit got out and stared at the scene. "What's going on here?" he asked. "I'm David Thompson, the real HOA president." Director Wilson went to meet him. "Mr. Thompson, we've just arrested 4 men who were impersonating HOA officials and extorting your residents." The real HOA president looked shocked. "We've been hearing complaints about this for months, but we could never catch them in the act. They always seemed to know when our board members were out of the neighborhood." "That's because they had inside information," Maya said, showing him the laptop screen. "Someone was telling them when real HOA officials would be away." David Thompson's face went pale as he saw a familiar name on the list of paid informants. "That's my assistant. She has access to all our schedules and new homeowner information. We'll need to talk to her too," Director Wilson said. "This conspiracy goes deeper than just these 4 men." The neighbors looked at each other with new understanding. The fake HOA scam wasn't just a few bad actors. It was an organized operation with connections throughout the community. The next morning, Maya's living room was full of people. Her CIA and FBI friends sat with laptops, sorting through evidence. Director Wilson was on the phone with the U.S. Attorney's Office. The real HOA board members sat around her dining table, looking at the fake documents the scammers had used. "These look so real," David Thompson said, holding up a fake HOA rulebook. "No wonder people believed them." "That was the point," Maya explained. "They spent money on good fakes because it helped them steal much more." The doorbell rang. Sarah answered it to find Mrs. Rivera with a large dish in her hands. "I brought breakfast for everyone," she said. "The whole neighborhood is talking about what happened. People want to help." Soon, more neighbors arrived with food and coffee. Many wanted to share their stories and see the evidence for themselves. Maya's house became the center of the community's healing process. Director Wilson hung up his phone and joined the group. "The U.S. Attorney wants to move fast on this case. We've arrested 2 local police officers who were paid to ignore complaints about the fake HOA. We also picked up the HOA president's assistant early this morning." "Did she talk?" Maya asked. "She couldn't talk fast enough," Wilson said with a smile. "She's afraid of going to prison. She gave us names of everyone involved, including a judge who dismissed complaints about the group." The neighbors gasped. This was bigger than anyone had imagined. Sarah called everyone's attention to her laptop. "Look at this email chain. They specifically targeted new homeowners who were minorities. They had a racist system for deciding how much to charge." She showed them the screen. The fake HOA group had a price list based on race. Black homeowners were charged the most, followed by Latino and Asian families. White families were usually charged less or completely skipped unless they seemed weak or unlikely to fight back. "This is awful," one neighbor said. "I can't believe this was happening in our neighborhood." Just then, a woman in a business suit arrived at the door. "I'm Leslie Chen from the mayor's office," she said. "The mayor sent me to see what's happening here. This story is all over social media." Maya invited her in. Leslie looked around at all the people and evidence. "The mayor wants you to know he knew nothing about this," she said quickly. Director Wilson raised an eyebrow. Interesting that he feels the need to say that before we've even mentioned his name. Leslie looked uncomfortable. He just wants to help the victims. Like he helped when they complained before. Sarah asked. We have emails showing his office directed complaints about this group back to the same local police who were being paid to ignore them. The mayor's assistant became very quiet. Meanwhile, David Thompson was going through more files from the laptop. They had fake HOA operations in 12 neighborhoods across 3 counties, he said. This wasn't just about money. Look at these messages. The messages showed the group's real purpose. They wanted to keep certain neighborhoods pure and discourage unwanted elements from moving in. Their fake fines were designed to pressure minority families to move out. It was a modern form of redlining, Maya explained to the confused neighbors. They couldn't legally keep people out of the neighborhood based on race, so they made living here so difficult and expensive that people would leave on their own. The neighbors looked at each other. Many had suspected something was wrong, but didn't know the full truth until now. What happens next? Mrs. Rivera asked. Justice, Maya said simply. Everyone involved will face charges. The money will be tracked down and returned to the victims. And most importantly, this neighborhood can become the welcoming community it should have been all along. For the first time, the people of Oakwood Heights felt like they were truly neighbors, united against those who had tried to divide them. 3 days after the arrests, a town hall meeting was held at the Oakwood Heights Community Center. The room was packed. People from all 12 affected neighborhoods came to hear updates on the case. News cameras lined the back wall. Maya sat in the front row with her friends. Director Wilson stood at the podium with the U.S. Attorney, a stern woman named Patricia Gomes. So far, we have arrested 15 people connected to this fake HOA scheme, Director Wilson announced. We expect more arrests in the coming days. Patricia Gomes stepped up to the microphone. The charges include fraud, extortion, conspiracy, civil rights violations, and corruption. The evidence is overwhelming. We have bank records, emails, text messages, and witness statements. A hand went up in the audience. Will we get our money back? We have frozen over $1.8 million in accounts connected to the scheme, Gomes said. We are working to match those funds to the victims. Everyone who paid these fake fines should fill out the forms we have in the back of the room. Another person stood up. What about the officials who helped them? Will they face justice too? Director Wilson nodded. Yes. No one is above the law. 2 police officers, 1 judge, and 3 city employees have been arrested. We expect more as we follow the money trail. The meeting continued for 2 hours. People shared stories and asked questions. Maya watched as her neighbors found their voices. They were no longer afraid. After the meeting, a reporter approached Maya. Ms. Johnson, sources tell me you're the one who broke this case wide open. Is it true you're a former CIA agent? Maya smiled. I'm just a homeowner who didn't like being bullied on my own porch. The reporter didn't give up. But you moved here specifically to catch these criminals, didn't you? Before Maya could answer, Mrs. Rivera stepped in. My neighbor is being modest. She and her friends are heroes. They did what the rest of us were afraid to do. They stood up to these crooks. Back at home that evening, Maya sat on her porch with Sarah and Director Wilson. The wind chimes tinkled softly in the breeze. The real HOA met today, Maya said. They're going to hold new elections next month. They want a fresh start. Good, Wilson said. Every group needs new blood from time to time. Sarah sipped her tea. I heard they're going to ask you to run for HOA president. Maya laughed. After 15 years undercover in dangerous places around the world, I think HOA meetings might be too exciting for me. They all chuckled, but Maya was thinking about it. Maybe this community needed someone like her to help rebuild trust. As they talked, a car pulled up. A family got out. A young couple with 2 small children. They looked nervous as they approached Maya's house. Excuse me, the man said. Are you Ms. Johnson? The one from the news? Maya nodded. Yes, I am. "We just bought a house down the street," the woman explained. "We were going to back out after we heard about what happened here, but then we saw you on TV talking about making this neighborhood better for everyone. We decided to still move in," the man continued. "We want to be part of what you're building here." Maya felt a warm feeling spread through her chest. This was why she had joined the CIA all those years ago, to make the world better, safer. Now she was doing the same thing in her own community. "Welcome to Oakwood Heights," Maya said, standing to shake their hands. "Things are changing here for the better." The couple looked relieved. Their children ran to look at Maya's garden gnomes. "Are those allowed?" the woman asked, still a bit worried. "Absolutely," Maya said with a smile. "In fact, I think garden gnomes are going to become the unofficial symbol of our neighborhood's freedom." 1 week later, Maya sat in a courtroom watching as James Peterson, the leader of the fake HOA group, stood before the judge. He looked smaller now in his orange jumpsuit, without his fake uniform and badge. "How do you plead?" the judge asked. "Not guilty, Your Honor," Peterson said, but his voice shook. The prosecutor stood. "Your Honor, the government has overwhelming evidence against Mr. Peterson and his co-defendants. We have video recordings, financial records, witness statements, and full confessions from 3 of his accomplices." Maya watched from the back row. Sarah sat beside her, taking notes. Many neighbors had come to see justice in action. Mrs. Rivera squeezed Maya's hand when Peterson looked back at the crowd. His eyes narrowed when he saw Maya. After the hearing, reporters gathered outside the courthouse. The U.S. attorney spoke to the cameras first. "This case is about more than fraud. It's about civil rights. It's about people using fear and fake authority to target minorities and drive them from their homes. We will prosecute everyone involved to the fullest extent of the law." Maya tried to slip away, but a reporter spotted her. "Ms. Johnson, can you comment on today's hearing?" Before she could answer, David Thompson, the real HOA president, stepped forward. Ms. Johnson and her colleagues did what no one else could do. They exposed corruption that went all the way to City Hall. Our community will be forever grateful. That evening, Maya's doorbell rang. She opened it to find Director Wilson with a serious look on his face. "We need to talk," he said, coming inside. The case just got bigger. He spread files across her dining table. Peterson wasn't the top guy. He was working for someone with much more power and money. Maya looked at the documents. They showed money flowing from the fake HOA accounts to an investment company called Oakwood Development Group. "Who owns this company?" she asked. On paper, 5 different people. But they're all connected to one man, Harold Winters. Maya knew that name. Harold Winters was one of the richest men in the state. He owned shopping malls, office buildings, and several housing developments. "What's his connection?" she asked. Wilson pointed to a map. "He owns land next to all 12 neighborhoods where the fake HOA group operated. When property values drop because of problem residents, he buys homes at low prices. Then he waits for the problems to go away, and property values rise again." So the fake HOA wasn't just scamming people for quick cash. Maya said, understanding now. They were deliberately driving down property values so Winters could buy up homes and land. "Exactly," Wilson nodded. "It's a real estate scheme worth tens of millions. The fake fines were just a bonus for them." Maya shook her head. How many people were forced to sell their homes? At least 50 families across all the neighborhoods, most of them minorities who felt they had no choice but to leave. Maya's phone rang. It was Sarah. "Turn on the news," she said urgently. Maya switched on her TV. Harold Winters was on screen, standing in front of one of his buildings. "These accusations are ridiculous," he was saying. "I'm a businessman, not a criminal. I've never heard of this so-called fake HOA group. This is clearly an attempt to attack a successful business leader for political reasons." Director Wilson snorted. He's worried. He's trying to get ahead of the story. Maya watched the screen carefully. He's scared, Look at his eyes, the way he keeps touching his tie. He knows we're getting close. We're searching his offices tomorrow, Wilson said. We have enough for a warrant now. Maya turned off the TV. He has money and connections. This won't be easy. The best cases never are, Wilson replied. But we have something he doesn't. What's that? Maya asked. The truth, Wilson said simply. And a community that isn't afraid anymore. The next morning, news trucks lined the street outside Harold Winter's main office building. FBI agents carried boxes of documents and computers out to waiting vans. Director Wilson supervised the operation while talking on his phone. Maya watched from her car across the street. She wasn't officially part of the investigation anymore, but she had a personal interest in seeing it through. Sarah sat beside her, using binoculars to watch the activity. They're bringing out a lot of evidence, Sarah said. Winters must be sweating bullets right now. Maya nodded. Where is he? His car isn't in his usual spot. As if on cue, Sarah's phone rang. She listened, then turned to Maya with concern. That was Wilson. Winters didn't show up at his office today. He's not at home either. They think he's running. Maya started her car. I know where he might be. They drove quickly to a small private airport outside the city. Maya had learned about it during her research into Winter's activities. He owned a jet that he kept there. As they pulled up to the airport, they saw a black SUV parked near a small plane. A man in a suit was loading bags into the aircraft while looking around nervously. That's him, Maya said. Call Wilson. Tell him we found Winters. Sarah made the call while Maya watched Winters hurry around his plane. He was clearly preparing for a quick departure. Wilson says to wait for backup, Sarah reported. They're 10 minutes out. Maya shook her head. He'll be gone by then. She started the car again and drove directly toward the airfield. Winters saw them coming and froze for a moment. Then he rushed to finish his preparations, slamming the plane's doors shut and running toward the cockpit. Maya stopped her car at the edge of the runway and got out. Mr. Winters, she called. The FBI is looking for you. Winters paused at the cockpit door. Who are you? He shouted back. I'm the homeowner you tried to bully out of Oakwood Heights, Maya replied, walking toward him. The one your fake HOA cops dragged off her porch. Winters' face hardened. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm late for a business meeting. In the Cayman Islands? Maya asked. With 5 suitcases, that's quite a meeting. Winters looked at his watch, then at the sky. He seemed to be calculating his chances of getting away before the FBI arrived. Your fake HOA enforcers have already confessed, Maya said, still walking slowly toward him. They gave up your whole scheme. We know you were trying to drive down property values so you could buy land cheaply. You can't prove anything, Winters said, but he looked worried now. We have the bank records, Maya continued. We know where the money went. We have emails between you and James Peterson. It's over, Mr. Winters. In the distance, sirens wailed. FBI vehicles were approaching fast. Winters made a decision. He climbed into his plane and started the engine. He's going to try to take off, Sarah said, running up beside Maya. Not if I can help it, Maya replied. She pulled something from her pocket, her old CIA credentials. She might be retired, but she still carried them. As Winters began to taxi the plane, Maya ran alongside, holding up her credentials so he could see them through the window. Federal agent, she shouted. Stop the aircraft immediately. Winters looked panicked. He was now facing a federal agent instead of a simple homeowner. He cut the engine and sat frozen in the cockpit. Just then, 3 FBI vehicles screeched to a halt nearby. Agents poured out, surrounding the plane with weapons drawn. Director Wilson walked up to Maya and Sarah. Nice work, he said. Though I told you to wait for backup. Maya smiled. Old habits die hard. I couldn't let him get away after what he did to all those families. They watched as agents led Winters from his plane in handcuffs. He looked defeated, his escape plan ruined. "How much prison time is he looking at?" Maya asked. "With all the charges." Wilson considered. 20 years, minimum. His empire is finished. 6 months later, Maya stood on her front porch, watching children play in the street. Oakwood Heights had changed a lot since that day when fake HOA cops tried to drag her away. The neighborhood felt alive now, with people walking their dogs, talking to neighbors, and enjoying their homes without fear. Maya's porch had become a gathering place. She had added more chairs, a small table, and of course, more garden gnomes. Today, she was waiting for special visitors. "There they are," Mrs. Rivera said, pointing down the street. A line of cars was pulling into the neighborhood. They parked along the curb, and families stepped out, looking around with curious eyes. "Welcome back to Oakwood Heights," Maya called out, walking down to greet them. These were the families who had been forced to sell their homes and leave because of Winter's scheme. After his arrest, the FBI had tracked down every family affected by the fake HOA fraud. With the money recovered from Winter's accounts, they were being offered a chance to buy back their homes at fair prices. "It looks different," said an older man, holding his wife's hand. "Friendlier." "It is different," Maya assured him. "We have a real community now." The neighbors had organized a welcome party at the community center. Tables were set up with food and drinks. The real HOA board, now led by Maya as president, had prepared welcome packets with actual HOA information, neighborhood maps, and contact numbers for any concerns. Inside the community center, Director Wilson was giving an update on the case. Harold Winters was sentenced to 25 years in prison, he announced. His business partners received between 5 and 15 years each. James Peterson and his fake HOA enforcers will serve between 8 and 12 years. People applauded. Justice had been served. But most importantly, Wilson continued, every family who lost their home can now return if they wish. The courts have granted full restitution plus damages, and any home improvements made by Winters' company now belong to the original owners at no extra cost. More applause filled the room. Some people wiped away tears. After the meeting, a young family approached Maya. She recognized them. They had been the first family targeted when they moved in 3 years ago. "We never thought we'd be back," the woman said. "After what happened, we were afraid to buy another house anywhere." Her husband nodded. "We've been renting an apartment across town, but when we got the call about returning, we couldn't believe it." Their young daughter tugged on Maya's hand. "Can I have a garden gnome too?" Maya laughed. "Of course you can. In fact, I have one for you." She reached into a bag and pulled out a small gnome holding a welcome sign. All around them, similar scenes played out as former residents reconnected with neighbors and shared stories. Old wounds began to heal. Sarah found Maya by the punch bowl. "Look at this," she said, showing Maya her phone. Winters' company owned land in 20 other neighborhoods across 3 states. The FBI is investigating similar schemes in all of them. "So this was even bigger than we thought," Maya said. "Much bigger. But because of what you started here, thousands of families might get justice." As the party continued, Maya stepped outside for a moment of quiet. The sun was setting over Oakwood Heights, casting a golden glow on the homes and trees. David Thompson joined her. "The Neighborhood Watch program starts next week," he said. "We have 30 volunteers already." "Good," Maya replied. "A strong community protects itself." "Who would have thought," David mused, "that a retired CIA agent would end up running our HOA and changing everything?" Maya smiled. Sometimes the best operations are the ones close to home. Later that evening, as Maya sat on her porch, watching her neighbors, both old and returning, walk home from the party, she felt a deep sense of satisfaction. What had begun with fake HOA cops trying to intimidate her had ended with a stronger, more united community. Her wind chimes tinkled in the breeze. Her garden gnomes stood guard. And Maya Johnson, once a CIA operative in dangerous places around the world, had found her most important mission right here at home.